What's going on, guys? This is Damien from The Lookout and I'm back with our how to play guides. We are kicking off how to play for BT21 starting with Uub. I know that all of you are now thinking like, Damien, when is green coming out? Later, because green's new color identity is errata at the moment. So we need to see erratas first and then we will cover green. But for now, let's start with something different. Let's start with Uub. However, before we begin the video, two big things. First off, huge shout out to our patrons. The coffee club is even bigger. Bixen, Ryan K, Adnan, Jakub, Derek, Bryce, Frank, Nave and Miguel. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, for buying us coffee and helping us buy a new table to flip. Guys, if you wish to support us this way, you absolutely don't need to, but if you wish to support us this way, it's highly appreciated. Link to the Patreon is in the description below. Another thing is Xenoverse tournament, no bans, no limits, on our Discord. The first online global tournament ever is gonna be on the 27th of May. Go to the Discord, link is in the description below. And finally, guys, help us reach 3000 subs by sharing the video, hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and maybe we can hit it by the end of the BT21 spoiler season. Now, roll the video! As with all of our videos, let's start with the breakdown. So in this video, I'll be going over the archetype breakdown, lines of play and interactions. There are a couple of synergies in this deck. I'll show you our deck list, after which we will go over the first 3 turns multiple times, because Uub is weird. Uub is so weird. And then we will end it with a summary. Let's go! Alright, let's start with the archetype breakdown. So what's actually the game plan here? This is a sort of a weird hand control deck, but instead of discarding cards, you're charging them into your opponent's Z energy. You can also force your opponent to charge Z energy from either their hand and or board. There's also one card that charges from drop too, I believe. It's certainly a unique strategy. It's about as clunky as it sounds, because you're giving your opponent a lot of Z energy, but the payoffs look promising. The payoffs really look promising, so we will try and see if there's anything good here. Let's check it out. Let's begin with the very basics. The leader. Frontside Uub 10k. Auto, when he attacks you draw 1. And that's about it. Like, it's extremely basic. It is the simplest of simplest leaders. Just attack, draw 1. Awakening condition is 4 lives or less. Or there is a blue Mr. Boo Z battle card in play with an energy cost of 2. And then you draw 1. Switch one energy to active and draw until you have 6 lives left. It's very easy to awaken on turn 2, you will always awaken on turn 2, plus draw plus restand is fine. It's not bad, it's one of the better awakening conditions. Let's check out the awakened side. On the awakened side, the leader is Uub and Mr. Bull Resonating Spirits. 15k, auto. When this card attacks, draw 1, and now comes the confusing part. Additionally, if this card attacks your opponent's leader, and there are no cards in your opponent's combo area at the beginning of the battle's damage step, draw 1. So what this really means is, if you attack your opponent and your opponent doesn't combo, you basically draw 1. That's it. So if your opponent doesn't have any cards in the combo area after his defense step, then you get to draw 1. That's what it means. So your opponent can just combo 1 card and then you don't get to draw. You have the potential to draw 2 cards per attack, which is cool, and his activate main once per turn, add up to 1 battle card in your opponent's drop to their Z energy, is basically a way to charge Z energies for your opponent. That's basically what it does. Let's check out the Z leader. The Z leader for the deck is Uub Fusion of 2 Spirits, so this is the Super Uub. Z Awaken for 1 blue energy, you have 3 or less lives, and you place 1 blue Mr. Boo from your drop under this card, and then you Z Awaken on top of a blue Uub. This means that you can Z Awaken on top of the old World Martial Arts Uub leader. Auto. Once per turn, when this card attacks, draw one and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and add it to its owner's Z energy. So it's basically 20k swing or draw one, remove something. Activate main, the worst, most useless activate main in the game that I have ever seen. Once per turn, if your opponent has 5 or more Z energy, choose up to one of your blue Uub cards that's under a Mr. Boo and switch it to active mode. It sounds good. It sounds like okay. You know, it's weirdly worded, but it is possible to do. The problem is that it isn't possible to do. I will explain you why later in the video. Activate battle. Once per turn, the big payoff. If your opponent has 10 or more Z energy, this card gets plus 10k power and double strike for the battle. This is your huge payoff. But before we continue, we need to talk about the second activate main and how this has been ruled. Important, the way that this ability is worded, the way that it is ruled is that when you restand a card from beneath a stack of cards, then you get to restand the whole stack. It's so stupidly worded, it's so needlessly confusing, and it's gonna confuse a whole bunch of players. That's why we're gonna have this wording, this rule in our upcoming You Need to Know These Rules video. But basically, yeah, if you have a Uub that's under a Mr. Boo that is under one of your big Uub cards, like either 6 or 8 drop, and that card is in rest mode, the entire stack is in rest mode, and then you switch the Uub from beneath them into active mode, you will restand everything. It's basically give your union absorb the big guy's dual attack. That's basically it. That's what it says. It's a lot of words to say give X card dual attack. Let's check out the Z battle cards. So the one that helps us awaken is Mr. Bowmage in Defender. It's a whole bunch of text. A whole bunch of text for a 10k blocker who basically says if he is removed when you have when your opponent's leader is a Z leader, he has 3 or more Z energy or a Z battle card in play, then you get to play your Z stack free cost Uub on top of this Boo in active mode. Like, that's it. That's what it does. It's a whole bunch of text to say just that. And his auto is when he's played, your opponent draws one and then they send one card to the Z energy. That's it. So its permanent is basically here to allow you to play the free cost Uub, which is actually pretty decent. And you need this card only to Z Awaken. Let's check out the free cost Uub. Then we have Uub, Holder of Majin Power. Auto, when this card is played, it gains barrier. That's great. Auto, limit 1. If your leader is blue Uub and it's your turn, when one of your opponent's cards is added to their Z energy, which is something that you can actually do pretty consistently, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards from their battle area or drop and add it to their Z energy. So basically add one more to Z energy. Activate battle once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or more Z energy and you have an Uub in battle, place up to 2 cards from the top of your deck into your drop, then use up to one of your mono blue cards with a combo power of 5k from your drop with its skills negated for the turn. So you just combo. It's a lot of hoops to jump through to basically say, hey, pick a card with 5k combo power from your drop and combo with it with its skills negated for the turn. But in this deck you also need to mill too when you want to do this. So yeah, that one is weird basically. But yeah, those are the Z battle cards. Let's check out something else. The last card that we're gonna take a look at is our big boss monster, our big payoff. Deflect double strike, 8 cost, specify 2 blue. You're always gonna play him for these 2 blue energies. Permanent, reduce its cost by 3 for each card in your opponent's Z energy. Doesn't reduce the specified cost. So his deflect double strike 30k, auto limit 1. If your leader is mono blue and your opponent has 3 or more Z energy, when this card is played, draw 1 and then choose up to a total of 3 battle cards from your opponent's battle area or drop and add them to your opponent's Z energy, and then auto once per turn if your opponent has 7 or more Z energy. When they activate a counter skill, they add a card from their hand into the Z energy. Whole bunch of text. But basically, yeah, you just pay 2 and you play him. There is a way to get him out for Union Fusion, but you're never gonna do that. I will talk about that later. And he's a board clear, he's 30k double deflect, and he punishes your opponent for using counters. That's not bad. Like, it's actually nuts. When you get him out, he's actually nuts. But everything else is sadly bad in this deck. You will see. You will see. Before we continue, let's talk about something else. I call this section, is it good? Is giving your opponent Z energy good? Yes, giving your opponent Z energy is good. For 4 reasons. First off, all decks now charge Z energy like crazy anyway. They all charge it like crazy. It's not difficult unless you're in like Green Cooler or like King Cold. It's not difficult to get Z energy. So if you give them like 20 Z energy, won't really matter. Jesus Christ. Point number 2. Z cards still cost regular energy to play. I see a lot of people, especially in regards to the Green Gohan archetype, pretending, I guess, that like if you give your opponent Z energy, his cards are magically free. They're not. Your opponent still needs to pay the normal cost to play the cards. So even if you give them like 50 Z energy, they still need to pay the normal cost for them. Oh look, the Danish sun is back. Anyway, point number 3, it goes around hand destruction hate, so no Daburas, and also it goes around skills that trigger when a card is KO'd. So none of that either. That's pretty cool. And point number 4, your opponent is stuck with a lot of Z energy. Because like 50 Z energy doesn't mean much unless you spend it. And once you hit a certain threshold, it will be easy to keep your opponent like above like 5 Z energy, unless they really want to play off curve. If they want to play off curve, then fine. Anyway, yeah, these are my arguments for why giving your opponent Z energy is good. Let's check out some synergies in the deck. There is only one cool synergy in the archetype that I've managed to find, and that is what happens when you combine the 6 cost Uub body resistance with SS3 Son Goku Warrior Savior. So what happens here? Well, it's pretty cool. Uub body resistance removes himself temporarily with his own skill at the end of your turn, and then he comes back at the start of your next turn. SS3 Son Goku Warrior Savior says that when one of your battle cards is removed by a skill, doesn't say whose skill, you get to play him from your hand for free. So you play Uub, you swing with him, and then you pass the turn. Uub goes under your opponent's leader, which triggers Goku, which triggers his auto because a battle card was removed by a skill, and then you get to play Goku, who is 20k dual blocker, basically 20k unique dual blocker. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool synergy. It's pretty cool. Okay guys, here is the deck list. Link is in the description below. It's definitely not the best build around. It's just a heavily archetype based deck. Something that I just came up with looking at all of these cards. Some of them are missing from the archetype. You will see that the just booze, the union not Boos, Oobs, Union Absorb Oobs are missing. They're trash. They're actual trash. I will explain to you why later in the video. So yeah, this is, consider this, you know, like a starting point. Consider it a starting point. Link is in the description below. Let's go into the turn breakdown. Okay, so let's dive into the mulligans. There are 2 mulligans that you can take depending on whether you go first or you go second. This is mulligan number 1 for what do you keep if you go first. You always look for Hercule because Hercule can get you your suspiciously looking Boo with his activate main. You grab this Boo because it charges extra Z energy, and then you grab Uub body resistance. So this is your mulligan if you are going first. Let's check out the mulligan if you're going second. The mulligan number 2 is if you're going second, and then the playstyle is a bit different. We are once again keeping Hercule, Friend's Defense. We are keeping Uub body resistance, but this time around we're also mulliganing for SS3 Son Goku Warrior Savior, because we want to get this synergy going off on our turn 2. I'll explain everything very briefly. Let's jump into the turn breakdown screen. Regarding turn breakdown, we are going to be breaking down your turns 1, 2 and 3. Because Oob's playstyle heavily depends on whether you go first or second. Basically, we will give you 2 guides instead of 1 guide. We'll give you your first 3 turns if you're going first, and then your first 3 turns if you're going second. For the first guide, we are assuming that you went first and that you've kept the mulligan number 1. For the second guide, we are assuming that you went second and that you kept the mulligan number 2. Let's start with our first guide. Turn 1, the usual setup. You know, the turn that's always the same. We start our turn 1, we charge 1, pay 1, play Hercule, his auto triggers, looks top 5, and let's say we grab this Mr. Boo. It can either be this one or the suspiciously looking one. Let's say we grab this one, we shuffle the deck, and then we use Hercule's activate main. We search the deck for the suspiciously looking Mr. Boo. We draw a card, we play him, we draw a card, Hercule goes into the drop, we draw a card, and then we pass the turn. So that's basically it. You know, you do a lot of things to search for a card and to draw one, but that's basically your turn 1. Important! Now that you have your restraining order Mr. Boo out, during your opponent's turn, you want to combo him, send him into your Z energy because you need the Z energy to awaken next turn. And because you are sending him to the Z energy because you're comboing with him, he has the auto limit 1. If your leader is Blue Uub and your opponent has 3 or less Z energy, they will. When this card is used in a combo, your opponent draws 1 and then adds 1 from hand to the Z energy. So yeah, that's how you go about this. You send the restrain order Mr. Boo into the Z energy so that you can awaken and your opponent charges 1 Z energy. Turn 2, we are charging even more Z energy. Okay, so we start the turn, we charge 1. We pay 2 and 1 Z energy, which we got from the restrain order Mr. Boo. We play our Z battle card. Z stack activates. We put the Z battle card Uub under Boo. Opponent draws 1 and then he charges 1 into the Z energy. That is Z battle card Boo's effect. Now we get to awaken because we have Boo. We draw 1, restand 1 and take until we have 6 lives left. Then we can use our activate main to add a card, battle card from the drop into our opponent's Z energy. Maybe. That's why it's like remove a card with a question mark. Like maybe you do that. Then we pay 1, we play the free drop Boo. Both players draw 1. Our opponent charges 1 Z energy, after which we attack. And now we get to draw between 1 to 2 cards. This really depends on whether or not our opponent will be comboing during this attack. Our opponent will probably be comboing because he doesn't need to charge cards into the Z energy when he combos. Just like combos send it to the drop. doesn't matter. And after that we just pass the turn. Turn 3, we finally get to do stuff. Okay, so here is our big payoff turn. Here's what we actually do. We start the turn, we charge 1, activate main, we remove a card from the drop, charge it into the opponent's Z energy. By now there will be probably one battle card in the drop. Then we pay 1 to play our 6th drop Uub. We take a life, we remove a card from our opponent, we send it to the Z energy, and then we get to Z awaken. Because let's say that now we got to fall down to 3 lives, and this taking 1 life actually helped us get there. Then we attack, after which we can pay 1 to play the fat Mr. Boo again. Both players draw 1, opponent charges 1 in the Z energy, then we attack. Our auto triggers, we draw 1, we send a battle card to the Z energy, after which we pass the turn, and then hopefully we don't lose. Oh my god, it's bad, it's actually bad. Yes, if that's what you have been thinking, watching me explain you how you do nothing for 3 turns, yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, guys. You know that here at the Lookout we always say things the way that they are, and this is bad, this is horrible. So there are some problems, let's go over them. You barely do anything most of the time, and then you do your like big payoff, which just removes some cards, and then your opponent's leader is like 10k for 1 turn. Your opponent will just then proceed to Raffle Stomp you once you've ended your turn 3. The main issue here is getting your opponent to charge 5 or more Z energy, which is something that we just can't do. There are cards with 5 or more Z energy payoff. Here is how and why this is the issue. So the real issue is that both of these require 5 or more Z energy. There is no way, I went over so many calculations, so many possible scenarios, there is no way to give your opponent 5 Z energy by turn 2 to use the free drop, and every turn after that it becomes much harder to do so, because if you haven't given your opponent 5 Z energy by turn 2, starting their turn 2, they will just start spending it. They will start playing their SSB Rush Vegetas, they'll start playing their Android 21s, their Beerus's. There's so much that you can play, Friezas. Every single color has a play for turn 2 when it comes to Z energy. So if you didn't get there by turn 2, you're not getting there anymore. But wait, it gets even worse. Here is what makes this deck complete trash, if you ask me. Your leader needs your little guys to Union Absorb. Yes, so you don't need to do that to Z Awaken. But if you want to use your Activate main ability to restand one of your boss monsters, it needs an Uub under Mr. Boo. It needs Union Absorb to do this. But it can't. It can't do that, because your opponent needs 5 or more Z energy to Union Absorb. So the only way for your Z leader to restand the big Uubs and to do pretty much anything is if you play them by using Union Absorb skills. Otherwise, he does nothing. However, if you don't Union Absorb, by turn 2, you're not gonna do that turn 3 because it's much cheaper and easier to just hardcast them with the discounts that they have. Because they don't have any Z energy restriction, especially not like 5. What the hell, man? This is actually bad. Like, this is actually literally bad. I think this is the worst thing that I have revealed so far. Maybe it gets better if we go second. Let's check it out. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see what happens if you go second. Turn 1 if you are going second. Turn 1 is basically the same. Start, charge 1, pay 1, play Hercule, auto triggers, you get a Mr. Boo, let's say you get this one, you shuffle the deck, then you use your Mr. Satan's Activate main, you search the deck for the, how did we call it again? Restraining Order Mr. Boo. Yeah, you get your Restraining Order Mr. Boo, you draw one, and then you get to attack with your leader, draw another card, and pass the turn. That's basically what you're doing on turn 1. The only difference is that you go to attack. Once again, important part, during your opponent's second turn now, I'm just reusing the slide, you want to Z-charge Restraining Order Mr. Boo, and then your opponent charges 1Z energy. You need to do this in order to awaken. Turn 2, because we went second, we can do some more things, so let's do the Uub plus SS3 Goku Combo. Okay, so we start turn 2, charge 1, then you pay 2 and 1Z energy to play the Boo Z battle card. Z stack activates, you place Uub under it, your opponent draws 1, and they charge 1 energy, 1Z energy. You awaken, draw 1, restand 1, draw until you have 6 lives left. Then you use your leader's activate main to maybe remove a card and put it into Z energy. I don't know, maybe this happens. Then you pay your last energy to play the 6th drop. You take a life, you remove a card, you send it to the Z energy. Then you attack with your leader, you draw 1 to 2 cards. Then you attack with your 6th drop, after which you pass the turn. And then things happen at the very end of your turn. Now, at the end of your turn, things happen. Uub goes underneath your opponent's leader through his own auto, through his own skill. And now, because he was removed by a skill, Goku's auto triggers, allowing you to play Goku for free. And now he's a deflected blocker who can also restand and block again. That is the Uub Goku combo. Finally, turn 3, we get to play our biggest boss monster. The way that we go about this is we start charge 1, Uub returns immediately. Then we use our leader's activate main to remove something. Your opponent should have at least 1 battle card in the drop by now. Then we pay 1 to play the Fat Boo. Now our opponent has 2Z energy, so we get to pay 2 to play our 8 drop. His auto triggers, he clears the board or at least puts 3 battle cards from the drop into the Z energy. Basically he charges 3 Z energy for our opponent, and then we get to attack with him, and we attack with the rest, and then hopefully we win. Is there an alternative? Well, there is one. What can you play instead of Mr. Boo? Well, instead of Mr. Boo, you can, for example, play another 6 drop because it doesn't have unique. You take another life, and then you can maybe fall down to 3 lives and play your not your boss monster, your Z leader instead, which is also decent. It's definitely a lot better than just going with Mr. Boo, because now you have another 20k Z energy charger and 20k attacker. Let's end this video on a negative note. It's quite bad. Uub is awful. Like, guys, I don't want to be negative. I really don't want to be negative, but here is the issue. Let's not lie to anyone. Here is the issue. First, there is no way to charge 5Z energy on turn 2. So there is no way for you to use your Union Absorb, guys, on turn 2. However, after turn 2, you no longer need to charge Z energy just to do your Union Absorb. You're not going to be doing Union Absorb, because after turn 2, you can actually just cheat out your boss monsters with their own effects. You don't need to Union Absorb. So, point number 2, your Z leader can only restand your big guys if you have played them using Union Fusion. But it goes along with point number 3, that by turn 3 you might as well just pay 1 to 2 energy and skip the Union Fusion. Like, you can play the 6 drop for 1 energy. No Z energy requirement. Once your opponent has 2 energies, you can do that. So, no Z energy requirement. So, the only time when you would want to play him out through Union Fusion is on your own turn 2. But you can't do that because you need 5 or more Z energy in opponent Z energy. So, it's just bad. And finally, good luck charging 10 Z energy for the big Z leader payoff. Good luck. I've looked at so many possibilities. It's basically impossible to do this. It's basically impossible. So, yeah, I guess good luck, guys. The entire archetype, it's bad. It's one of the worst ones that we went over on this channel, and it's coming from a guy who was hyped for Universe 3. So yeah, Uub, quite bad, I'm afraid. Before we end the video, let's dive into the summary. Playing this deck is an experience. That's the best way to describe it. It's an experience. At best, you will do better if you go second, and as some better plays will become available to you, because some of your guys are locked behind a number of energy that your opponent has, not you. The deck tries to do so much, but then after failing to do it on turn 2, like charge 5Z energy and Union absorb and stuff, it just kinda stops entirely. It just kinda gives up. Like that's it. So you have one big turn, which will be your turn 2, to try to charge 5Z energy, after which your opponent will just start using them to play their Z battle cards, and then your entire engine just kinda gives up, because nothing after the things that you play on turn 2 actually charges enough Z energy for it to matter. A good promo card, because we know that this one is getting a promo card, all of them are. A good promo card can make this a lot better. We need just a single promo card that will force your opponent to charge Z energy on turn 2. And then the entire archetype is much better. The problem is it's gonna be like charge 2 Z energy or something. That's how much they need to charge. That's gonna be a bit problematic, but there is still a way to do this. So maybe a good promo card can save the archetype. And finally, for those of you who want to try it, it's cool if you like weird gimmick decks. It's cool if you like losing, but yeah, it's not the best one, but it's fun. If you're a fan of Uub, go ahead, have fun. So yeah, I think that's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below, is anyone excited to try out the new Uub? Will you be giving this deck a go? I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts on this one, because guys, I really tried. I couldn't find anything here. Unfortunately, I didn't find anything here, and I really did my best to do so. So maybe you see something that I am not seeing. Let me know in the comments below. I read all of your comments. I try to respond to everything. I love our little community. And guys, while you're here, please share the video, hit those like and subscribe buttons, help us grow, help us reach 3,000 subs. We are almost halfway there. To 3,000 subs. Maybe somehow we can hit it by the end of the BT21 spoiler season. This has been Damien from The Lookout, and I'll see all of you in the next video.